Matt Robinson, Rob Christie, back in the TCA studio as you head back to work, back to school, back to normal. Rob, welcome back inside the studio. How were your summer days and your summer nights?
I think of a young Rob with a bowl cut, probably like a good quality 8 is enough haircut. Straight across the front anyways. Seriously, my mom, what are you doing? But yeah, loving the Olivia Newton-John late in that Grease with the super tight black
Just
pants.
painted on.
Woo!
Unbelievable.
Young enough to not know any better and,
Yet still get the tingles
old enough
just
to
a little bit.
Be slightly interested.
Yeah. What am I looking at right now?
Here? What's happening here? Can I bend a boner? Probably.
Okay. Well, welcome back, everybody. We are off and running on a brand new episode of the Tall Can Audio Podcast. Make sure you're following along on whatever, one of the many now platforms that social media has expanded to at Tall Can Audio, and make sure you're subscribed to the pod wherever you're hearing us right now. It's been a busy summer, man. A lot going on. We didn't even cover everything. There was some MMA notes that I cut out of there because it was getting a little long. There was some PWHL announcement that didn't have any great audio to fit in there. It's been a wild summer. Some of it we touched on before, but oftentimes the good listener, kind of disappears, unplugs for the summer, right?
Yeah.
Maybe heads off to whatever. So you're all caught up now. We do have pints. We always have pints.
I wouldn't show up if we didn't.
Right. What the hell are we even doing here if not? Let's start there. What do you got, ma'am?
Today I am drinking something from a brewery that I've never had before. I'm drinking a little
water. It's water.
Yeah.
What is this?
It's a celery stick. It's a little bit of. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is called Klondike Clark.
Really?
It's a lagered ale from Long Slice.
What's up, Home Slice?
Yeah.
Yeah, no idea. Never heard of the old Long Slice.
Right on Front Street in Toronto.
Really?
Yeah. So this will be my first pull, but a lagered ale. And you know what? We were talking in the green room about one I had yesterday. Tasty. Mm-hmm. I can only assume that this is because the difference between a lager and an ale, right? Top fermenting versus bottom fermenting. That you're using lager yeast in an ale, and I don't know that.
Right.
I'm just assuming that the lager, which is a bottom fermenting at a cooler temperature, they're using sort of ale yeast or lager yeast in an ale recipe. If that makes any sense to you. Anyways. Long Slice 5.2. I'm going to have a pull at this, but we'll see. What do you got?
So I felt a little, I don't know, guilty would be too strong. But I felt like over the last couple of months, been having a lot of Kawartha beers, right? Based on where I was posted up and maybe neglecting our friends here in Ottawa just a little bit. So when I got back to town, felt like let's circle back. Let's visit some of our friends here. I've mentioned a few times over the summer, the Whippersnapper Brewing Company. But I circled back to our friends at Vimy, and I circled back to our friends at Nita, and I'm going to start here today with something from Vimy. I've said on this show a bunch of times the Vimy Stout is, in my opinion, the best stout in Ottawa.
Quite often in the fridge.
Yeah, it often is either on tap or in a can. So headed over there, and they had a couple things going on, but we'll start with what I'm actually drinking here today. Grab this one because it's not one that I've had anywhere near as often. This is their NEPA Northeast IPA, and they don't do a whole lot more with the naming schemes, right? They don't go crazy on it. It's just, here's the Vimy Red, here's the Vimy Cream Ale, here's the Vimy Stout. So this is the Vimy NEPA. Looking forward to checking this one. I believe I've had it once before. I did one of those, I think I talked about it last year, Brew Donkey tours. Yeah. That's the only time I've had their NEPA was when I went in and sat down. They brought everybody out a flight and tried that one then. It's the first time we've got a couple cans of it, and that's what I'm going with today, man.
Okay, well, and this over here is quite nice. And I think I was telling you in the green room that the beauty of a lagered ale is it sort of has that ale coloring, but sort of with that nice lager crispness.
Right.
Right. So it has a kind of a darker color and more of a full-bodied flavor. Mm-hmm. I quite enjoy it. I enjoyed the one yesterday, which was a Beach Me Up Scotty from Perth.
Yeah, that one I've seen around a bit this summer at the LCBO and on tap.
And so this is called the Klondike Clark lagered ale from Long Slice. A 5.2, I did remember.
Yeah, attaboy.
Quite nice, and that's actually probably the third lagered ale I've had this summer, and I'm kind of feeling it. I'm feeling it in terms of its traditional, air quotes, beerness,
Yep.
right? But it has a bit more of a fuller body. I know you go in for that.
I do, and before on all sorts of fronts. Before I move back over to the Vimy here, in terms of what we were falling into this summer, what we were feeling this summer, I may have mentioned it the last time that you and I did this together back in early August. I was going in big this summer for the cervezas, right? A lot of the Mexican lagers.
Yeah, it's light.
Yeah.
Light bodied. The opposite of this. Huh?
Yeah, yeah. And, spent a lot of time this summer down at the cottage and, out on the patio down by the, it's hot as balls and you're just nice and crisp.
Whose balls?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, speaking of which.
It's good. Anyway.
It was 32
good.
degrees, man. When I came into the studio today, I was in the pool already a couple times.
September. I don't know what the hell's going on. But yeah, that was sort of my beer of the summer. When I would see that kicking around, I was going with the cervezas that people were offering up.
It's funny because I think what I've sort of fallen into was a good expression because I don't always seek out these things, but a lot of Italian or Czech style pilsners.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Sort of came my way, especially the Italian style.
See, I was just saying to somebody the other day, I've only ever had a couple Italian style pilsners and I wasn't feeling it.
Well, to me, I don't know what the
Czech style.
I don't know what the Peroni is.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like socks and ass.
Okay.
So
hard pass.
Yeah,
on that.
yeah. Unless that's what you go in for. If you enjoy that, then knock yourself out. But I do not. To me, in terms of what I've had around the pool and whatnot, there have been quite a few sort of pilsners, which, as you suggest, on a hot summer day,
Gorgeous.
something a little lighter and crisper and
Crushable.
thirst quenching.
Yeah.
Tell me something. Another thing I've been.
We're not moving on yet. I'm going to circle back to this NEPA here from the Vimy Brewing Company, who went in to see them last week.
Oh, I thought you said that's good. I thought that was it. You've done the wrap up, and this is good. I thought you said
It is nice and juicy. Went in there. The reason I need to circle back, man, was one of the reasons to go over there. First of all, was I had to return a keg that was empty, and so grabbed some cans over there, and also returned the keg. And look, went in because they had something new listed on their website. It was called Lemon Orange Rice Candy Ale. I was like, I need to see what that's about. And I was going to grab a couple of cans, but it's one of those things that they've, for now, only got on tap in the brewery.
Wow.
And so we were in a hurry. We didn't have time to sit down and have one, but we know the guys over there, and they've always been pretty good to the show as well. And you got to let me try just a little bit of that while you're doling out the cans. I'm here to grab them. No problem. It was exceptionally sweet, right? Like, not as a, like, this is really sweet, like, more like it actually tastes sweet.
sweet.
Yeah, exactly. So, really enjoyed it. I'm going to have to circle back over there when I have a few minutes to sit down and actually have a pint of it. I do hope that it makes its way into being sold canned, but for now, on tap over at Vimy, well worth checking out. Super interesting. I did grab a couple other things from there. They had to disappoint me. The stout, not quite ready yet, right? It's more of a fall thing. It's more of a winter thing.
Yeah.
It's coming, and I will be back for that as well. Probably in keg form, that one.
So sweet like
candy.
Okay, and so I was going to say sweet in a beverage, sweet like a breakfast cereal, or sweet like
it's actually not
syrup.
a terrible. Yeah, no, closer to a breakfast cereal, like
Okay.
that lemon orange going on. And they're calling it a rice candy. This obviously, I believe, is of Japanese origin, somewhere like mixed in with it.
You don't say.
Yeah, exactly. Really tasty. So if you're in the area, they're over on Industrial here in Ottawa. So if you're in the area and you have time to stop in there, make sure you check it out.
Rice wines, rice beers, rice candy. Why not?
Yeah. You wanted to take me somewhere else though before.
Yeah, something I've spent the summer mulling over is and I've really wanted to for a pile of maybe 30 years. I've been sort of looking towards getting a tattoo.
Okay.
Where do you stand on a tattoo?
If it's something, look, you do what you want to do, good listener, or Rob, or whatever.
It's two beavers fucking, and it's going to be on the back of my neck.
Yeah, get it right on your face. awesome. Look, I personally, not really a tattoo guy, unless it was something that was incredibly meaningful. Like, I don't really understand I've always wanted to get a tattoo, so I'm just looking to come up with what it's going to be.
I totally agree. This is what's taken me so long.
It's sort of, to me, the other way around. Like, whatever this image is, or this name is, or this date is, or whatever it might be, that's really important to me. I want to tattoo it on me. I get that. It's more I'm kind of bored on a Saturday. I'll go get something else stapled onto me.
Yep.
I don't know.
I want the Chinese characters that say fellatio.
Sure.
Right? That's kind of what you're going for. No. So to me, it's I'm just down to the spot now where I need to find a good tattoo artist is really where I'm going now. I've settled on the tattoo, which is very unoriginal, but I'm going to go with it's the family coat of arms, and by coat of arms, it's really the emblem,
right?
Which for the Christie family is it's a stump, right? That's it's
sorry,
yeah, like a tree stump, right? That's been cut clean, but there's a fresh sprig.
You already have one of those tattooed on your pelvis.
It's 3D. It's
just barely.
Yeah, it's like a soup can more than a stump. But it's got a fresh sprig coming out of it, and I haven't always liked that, right? Because there's no real way to do it without it looking cartoonish,
right?
So I found some artwork that has actually fresh stuff growing out the sides of. So the motto is "Sic Viresco" is the Christie family motto, which translates
always be drinking.
Yeah. Always drunk, which actually means thus I flourish.
Okay.
So thus the cut with the fresh growth in the cut.
Right.
So that will be on the right delt. I'm going to go with that. Mm-hmm. It's cool, but I am already planning for the second one, which interesting. My mother's maiden name is Stewart.
It's Brady Kachuk's face.
Yeah. No.
Right above my ass.
Baby Kachuk right there on my head. No. It's the Stewart family motto is, and this to me speaks to me as well, is courage grows strong at the wound.
Courage. It couldn't have come at a worse time.
Yeah, exactly. In a motel that has the lay of home.
That's a bummer, man.
Yes, for sure. For sure it is. And it speaks to the quality of carpeting you have at home.
At home, yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly. You're like, that's shitty 70s furniture and thin, worn out carpet.
Yeah.
So anyways, that I am going to pull the trigger on that in the next couple of months. But it's 30 years in the making because I want, as you've just suggested, right? You want something that's never going to go bad.
Right.
That you go, that's super cool right now. I want vanilla ice.
I was just going to say, like Counting Crows.
Yes, so there you go. You're trying to go back. Mr. Jones, though.
Great tune, man.
Didn't love it at the time, but it's really grown on me.
Okay. Loved it right away.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's the white dude with the dreads. I was like, with cornrows. And you're like, I'm not sure what's happening there. Man.
Yeah.
But anyways, that is the major achievement of my summer.
He's decided what to have tattooed.
We're going to do this.
Yeah.
We're going to do this. And there's never...
You give any thought to the TCA logo?
Yep, totally.
Bottom of my foot.
Totally. Yeah, right on the top of my foot. That I'm sure would roll smoothly.
Sure.
I'm a sandal guy. You know that.
Yeah,
you know
I do.
that about me. And I am from April to November sandal guy. So it'll get lots of wear.
Yeah.
People would be like, hey, check that out. Look at that.
Look at it.
Look at me.
I just thought I should mention briefly before we kind of get into the meat of today's show a couple of thank yous quickly because
you're welcome, Matt. I'm here for it's just whatever you need.
Yeah,
that's not for me.
I need a little second to breathe.
I need you to stop talking.
But we've done a couple of these shows now. Rob doesn't even know it. He was on the show last Monday.
I do know it.
We had pre-recorded.
People have actually reached
summer.
out to me and told me they fucking hate it. So
really, okay.
No, I'm kidding. Actually, one did tell me that in person today.
Okay. Wow.
Not us, but the song.
Oh. I thought even the episode would have been acceptable as long as it's not all out hate towards the hosts.
Yeah, well, that is also not new.
But, you pre-record a couple of things so I can slide out of here, be at the lake, had a bunch of guests, but there was a couple of people who stepped up repeatedly throughout the summer, namely Michaela Schreider and Steve Bunda, who
Good people.
took the call, did the remote pods while, Rob doesn't love doing it remotely. Rob's somebody who's got to be right there in the room to bring his full level of goodness to the show. So, if we're going to do something remotely, those are two people that probably each did at least 3 and maybe 4 episodes this summer, just when breaking news was happening, whenever the Monday morning thing was coming back around. So shout out to them, and shout out to all the other guests that we had on the podcast. Dean Brown was back in, Kevin Mickey was back in, Lever Sage was back on the podcast. When I was back in here, of course, AJ Jakubek was here. We've had some guests this summer, a lot of people that helped, keep it alive.
Yep.
In a place where...
In a downtime.
Yeah. There's not always a ton of news and not always a ton of desire to roll back into the city. So thank you to anybody who answered the phone when we called. And
Anybody.
Yeah, anybody. It's that fucking Matt guy again. I swear to Christ. Swipe.
Grandma, can you come on the podcast?
Cousin Brandon was on the podcast. That was kind of fun at some point. Yeah. Sat in for Grandma. So
Love him. Love that guy.
The Funhouse Mirror Phil Kessel.
Yeah, exactly. He's a handsome feller.
Look, we got a bunch of places we could start, man. I don't know. You know what? You haven't been around for a couple of weeks. Where do you want to go first?
Man, you've put me on the spot. Because where I really want to go to the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Blue
Jays.
Yeah, I love hearing the Jose Berrios.
Yeah.
His commercials with the Roberto Clemente Day coming up.
I think he's on the mound as we speak right now.
Yeah. He says Blue Jays the way
Blue Jays.
Yeah. I love the Blue Jays.
It's fun, man.
Harkens me back to Roberto Alomar. So a kinder, gentler, HIV, all those things, right? Just
wow.
Yeah. You don't remember that?
Vaguely.
Him being HIV positive and having unprotected sex with a woman who didn't know.
Alomar?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I don't remember that at all. I remember the talk of him beating the shit out of a woman or two, but
turned out to be a bad dude.
Spitting on people, yeah.
And he was my favorite.
Yeah.
He was my guy.
I think he was most people's favorite, man. Incredible ball player. Yeah. Terrible person.
Yeah. So anyways, that's a shame on so many levels. But
somebody I think we got, is it Jordan Hicks who rolled in at the deadline wearing his number?
Yeah, well, you said that to me. You're like, hey,
I think we're officially done with the level of excellence there for old Roberto Alomar because somebody's got the number on. It must have been Hicks, yeah.
Yeah, I'm at my wit's end with this ball club, and I am, as we've talked in the past, I am heavily invested. Like, to me, I'm a hockey guy.
And as we sit here, they're a game and a half out. Like, that's important for us to keep in mind because I'm also sick of these fucking guys.
Like, sick.
But they're in it. Like, this is not a terrible baseball. I've watched terrible Blue Jay teams, but I didn't hate them as much as I don't like this team.
This team, tell me something before we get into any of the nuts and bolts. If I was to ask you, you're walking down the street, you're wearing a Jays hat.
Sure.
I was wearing a Jays hat yesterday, and if somebody asked you, hey, you like the Jays? Yeah, I love the Jays, who's your guy? Who on this team do you gravitate towards? Who was a guy, if I was to say to you, I'd buy that jersey or I would do whatever? Who is it on this team?
Romano? Like, I'm fed up with Guerrero.
Number 27, you're not...
I don't really love... Bo's our best player. I don't love Bo. Like, I'm not buying a Bo jersey.
Well, he just doesn't...
I don't like Chapman
he seems a little sullen and...
I don't like Merrifield very much. I don't like Biggio very much.
Springer? Where are you in Springer?
No, yeah.
Yes. How about a Jansen? Can I talk you into a Danny Jansen?
Comes complete with...
broken hand.
Baseball magnet that shatters your wrist a couple times a year.
All right, and this is my point, really is...
It's not a likable group. It's just a bunch of red ass whatever.
Yeah. I just go, I don't know, man. I don't know what's happening here with this squad that had this sort of group and you...
I don't mind most of the pitching staff, actually.
Yeah, Gosman, I think, is...
Love Gosman.
Yeah. I want Gosman.
I like Barrios.
Takes me back to...
Kikuchi's been fun. He's bounced back this year. Been pretty good.
Not so good the last couple, but, But yeah, it's a not very likable group for some reason.
Yep.
And not... like bad dudes like HIV and whatever else.
Beating up girlfriends and stuff. No.
None of those things, but that we know of. But and maybe it's the play that goes along with it. There seems to be some, at times, indifferent play and not run. Like for the Varsho and Kiermaier things where we talk about hard out of the box and rounding first, like you're shooting for a double every time.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of Vladdy, stretching.
Trying to pimp
doubles
a single.
into singles. Like you're not hitting for the cycle here, man. You're not trying to stretch.
Was that Sunday?
That was
when he
Sunday.
cranks one he thinks is a home run.
Yeah.
He's looking at it, and all of a sudden he's life and death to. Well, he turns it into a single, and it's only a shitty throw back in by the Colorado defense that allows him to kind of sneak into second.
You were in no position, man.
No.
With the season you're having.
The position the team's in, everything about it. Giver, man.
This is, that this is, coming into that game, they were 4-4 on this super soft, easy 15-game stretch.
Yeah.
And you're 4-4. Do not lollygag. If it's a no-doubter, if it's like the Horowitz home run, you can look at it from the box and go, yeah, that's gone.
What a bummer that we're sitting here talking about Vladdy having to look up to the Spencer Horowitz home run.
Yeah.
Depending on that Bison bump, right? Get those Buffalo guys to carry us to the promised land.
And this is where I'm just, it's this constant, I watched the game Saturday night, and I was in the middle of texting you.
They blew a 5-0 lead.
Yeah, and then they end up losing 8-7. And the only reason they're there is when you got that guy who's blown 10 saves and tried like hell to make it 11.
Yeah, he got 2 more in the ninth, just couldn't quite get there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he hit a guy, walked a bunch, and you're like, fuck, wild pitch.
They're going to give this to him.
Yeah, thank God, because we can't take it.
Take it.
And I was in the middle of texting you to say, I just barfed on my own shoes. But I was like too lazy. It was too late in the night, and I'm just like, and pissed off. Like
and
just watching
and I would
these
have
guys.
believed you were out somewhere.
That's true. It's true. It's true.
Oh, he's watching the game would have been the last thing that crossed my mind.
Where are you? I started having.
I'm in your lobby.
Yeah, at 2 p.m, and it turned into a midnight showing here.
Yeah.
But that's what I just feel like these fuckers can't beat anybody.
No.
And Joe Siddle said it.
And they can. That's the thing. They're in it. They're winning. They're well above 500. They are, as we sit here right now, a game and a half out of a playoff spot. When you look at the statistics, you're like, this is a pretty good team, but fuck, I hate watching them.
Yeah, well, and they're a game and a half both, Texas and Houston.
Yeah.
And those teams play each other, like right now.
Yeah.
Like tonight is a start of a 3-game series of Houston and Texas.
Yeah, you got Oakland, Kansas City, and then a 4-gamer with Texas, where you're going to have to make hay in that one. Like, you're going to have to... You'd like to sweep somebody here in one of these next 2 fucking series and stop giving shit away.
You mean like the worst team in the National League?
That'd be awesome. And then the worst team in the American League coming at you this week.
And they were and they allowed like 22 runs to the Rockies.
Yep.
In 3 games.
Yep.
And you're like, that's fucking garbage.
They were life and death, even in the wins.
For sure, man. And you're like, oh my God.
And you got, then 4 games against Texas, and that's your season.
Yeah. Then you have the Red Sox, Yankees, Rays.
Yeah.
So it's Joe Siddle said 10, 12 games ago. He's like, yeah, a soft schedule is only good if you're playing good baseball.
Yep.
If you're not playing good baseball, it doesn't matter who you're playing.
Right.
And you see that.
Well, and the rotation is softened a little. As you pointed out earlier, Kikuchi hasn't been quite as good. Bassett hasn't been quite as good. Like,
Gosman not so great after
Ryu's been better than I expect. You're getting more out of Ryu than I would have thought you were going to this season. 100%. Like a capable 5-starter.
100%.
He's been fine. But like that's the thing that's carried them this long, and they're sort of stumbling at this point. And I saw a great tweet. It might have been Stoughton who pointed out that the Blue Jays, all season we've been talking about the stats are fine. Everything's going to even out. You'll regress to the mean, right? He goes, oh, it turns out the only thing we're going to regress to the mean on is finally the injury bug catching up to us. We had been remarkably healthy all year until the home stretch, and now everybody's fucking hurt. So
yeah, and so Jansen's not coming back.
No.
Like if you have a fractured hand,
stop hitting me.
Yeah, well, And again, it's
Every other game, somebody's plunking that fucking guy.
well, and he's at bat, he's behind the plate, he's just getting like, when that ball came down, hit him in the bare exposed hand, you're like, psh,
see you next year.
Yeah, that's not good. Can't even hold the ball, right? He's just sort of trying to.
He did say, I'm hoping to be back for the World Series. Like, you are an optimistic motherfucker. I appreciate that about you.
And so to me, it's just this idea that, man, I keep watching.
Yeah.
But the idea that after 5 months of baseball, you would be anything else, like it's this idea that it's still early or it's working out, and you're like, April, May, June, July.
Well, that was me for a very long time. You know, I like to dive deep into the crazy stats, right? This all says all these guys should be doing better. And they still say that, but they're not. And now you're at a runway, right? Like, coming into, I think it was early July, I finally said, maybe this team just isn't that good.
Right.
We talked on the podcast. Like, they're not bad, but this is not a division winning team. This is probably not a World Series winning team. They'll still be fine, but they're not as good as we all expected they were going to be this year. And even with those lowered expectations, watching through the rest of the summer,
They've still underdelivered.
And it's just been brutal to watch. They lose in all the most frustrating ways. Even that game you're talking about on Saturday. Just die. Don't come almost all the way back in the ninth and get me invested again to smash me in the face again with disappointment. I get enough of that in my day-to-day life. I don't need you bringing it.
Yeah.
Like, it's sort of, hey, we're in it, winner. Just kidding, we lose.
Close enough.
Fuck
Where's
you.
Vladdy going to hit into a double play here in a second, right? How many times they have 2 runners on, 3 runners on, and forget about
Him and Carlos Correa, over the last 2 years, hit into the most ground ball double plays.
I was surprised they flashed up a stat. I was sort of in and out yesterday. I had the smart speaker going on.
So that's Sunday, yeah.
Out by the pool, Sunday. If I was inside, I was sort of watching it on the game on the TV, and they flashed that stat up, and I'm like, I was shocked to see that there were actually 2 guys who had hit into more double plays than Vladdy
this year. But over the last 2 years, it's just him and
But
Correa.
Correa is one, and Francis, I think. Ty Francis is the other one.
Ty France, yeah. And it's sort of from, like, no one, I believe Vladdy has now set a record for hitting into this many ground ball double plays by this age. Now, part of that is a credit to how quick he got to the majors, right? He gave himself an extra few games to allow that to happen. But this is now a thing that they're going to have to talk about, right? I think we all just assumed that guy's getting the $300, $400 million long-term contract. I'm not sold on that. At this point,
Well, he's costing himself money.
what's the real Vladdy? I think we all thought 2021 is close to the real Vladdy. 2022, it's just a down year. Now 2023, it's just a down year. How long can he be this before you start to go, well, maybe this is the real guy, right? And at that point, if you force me right now to say you're giving one of these guys and one of these guys only the monster contract between Bo and Vlad, it's Bo.
Oh, it's not even a question.
And I don't really like Bo. But he's earned it more. This is a guy, when he sat out in August, the first time he was on the IL, by the time he came off it, he was still leading still leading MLB in hits after missing like 15 days. This is a guy who constantly gets it done. I don't love his defense. I don't really love his demeanor. But if you were to force me to pay one of them the big contract, it's him over Vladdy. And I don't think in any time outside of the last month, 2 months, 3 months, I would have said that. It's just...
And I was in the Toronto train station the day that Vladdy was making his MLB debut. So I was down at the worst.
Yeah.
Having a couple pints.
Pint and a sausage.
No, pint and some of those dirty duck fat fries.
Yeah. Good shit.
Yummy. But it was the buzz in the train station.
Yep.
And we know the proximity to
right
to
there
the dome, right?
Yeah.
But it was a huge buzz, man. People at the bar were talking about it. You could hear people walking behind me, wherever they were going to. Like, it was this huge buzz. He was the guy. And then sort of Bo came along later in the summer and was kind of an afterthought, right?
Yep.
That went on to hit crazy, like Schneider kind of numbers.
Crazy.
But
we put him in that opening trying to paint the picture of this summer. First was the Orioles clip. to signify the Jays keep losing the fucking division. But hey, there's this fucking kid at a AAA who's setting like record-setting numbers here coming up. And
Well, when you talk about, and I think we addressed it the last time I was on a full month ago when he had that Fenway stint, right?
yes, yeah.
And you're like, unbelievable, right? Like, and then
Unsustainable, but awesome.
And then he went sort of out of the lineup a bit, sort of was hit and miss for a bit, but
yeah, they didn't play him for like another 2 weeks. You're like, what are you doing? But
yep. And then all he's done is continue to surpass
yep.
expectations. And so
This team may yet make the playoffs, but this has been a thoroughly unenjoyable season to watch. And we've sort of already circled around this, but there was a tweet I saw that just said, I've watched way worse Blue Jay teams in my lifetime. I'm not sure I've ever enjoyed watching one less than this one. Because there's always been this sort of, well, at least I know what these losers are, right? Like the 2018 Jays or anything pre-2015 back to 94. Yeah, like, but you're always like, they just are what they are, and let's see what Felipe Crespo can do today.
Where's
right?
Eric Hinsky?
Right. This team is supposed to be great. It's not great. It's not. It is good. It is a good team. But fuck, they're joyless, man. They're just not fun to watch.
Well, and I had sent you one day, there was Chapman and Espinal were on the left side of the infield, and I'm like, fuck those guys, man. I don't want to see those guys on my team next year. I think Chapman's probably a fait accompli, right?
I was certain of that. I'm less certain now. I'm wondering how much money he's costing himself, A, being hurt here through a lot of this stretch, and B, he got off to that crazy start, if you remember, April, May. Like, he was just tearing
Player
the cover
of the month
off.
in April.
Yeah. And now he's not. Now he's struggling. He's got the finger thing that I guess he smashed in the weight room, which just sounds incredibly
pinched in
fucking
between
painful.
the bar and it's not good, man.
I wonder if he's cost himself enough money that he might be prepared to take. And I don't know that I want to do it, but the Jays reach out now with a 1-year deal at, I don't even know, 17, 20. I'm sure he expected he was going to make 25.
Yeah, that somebody was going to pay him fat cash on the open market.
I'm not sure that's still the case.
Deals.
Yeah.
But he's making 20 now, I think, in that range.
Yeah.
But, whether it's the finger or not, he's been booting the ball around. He hasn't been, forget about the platinum glove winner. He hasn't been a gold glove winner over there.
No.
And Espinal, man, that guy, to me, I'm down on that guy big time, right? Doesn't matter if he's at second or short. He doesn't have a strong enough arm at third. To me, it's just...
But he's the 26th man on your 26-man roster. Like, the fact that he's out there playing every day now, that's injuries, that's whatever. I don't care if he stays or goes, but I'm not pinning much of this on him at this point.
No. But I'm just saying, at that time, you're like, look at that's the side, and you got Chapman kind of booting it around. And again, it turns out it's likely finger that he wasn't able to throw. He went and make a throw to second base, and he was like, whipped it out in the outfield. You're like, what is that guy? So we can only get that, but he is a leech in the order too. The way the season's gone on, that's a guy who's at times batted 4th, 5th,
7th.
Yeah, he's better suited at this moment to be 7th, right? In terms of, so if I can just for a second double back to Vladdy, what would you ever consider trading him?
I would, but I just, everybody in baseball knows his value is at an all-time low right now. I don't know how you win that trade. I think you have to go through this winter, hope he can, kind of find whatever the hell he...
Because you have a couple more years with him controllable, do you not?
Yeah, at least 2. It might be 3, but I think it's 2 anyway. I just think it's going to be really hard to win that based on what his upside is.
Yep.
And what you're selling him at. I think your best bet is to go back to the drawing board again this winter, hope somebody can help him, hope somebody, he can kind of figure out whatever's going on. And I don't know if we'll ever see 2021 Vlad again. Maybe that's not what he ever was, but he's got to be better than this, or you can't give him the big contract that he wants. At this point, you're sitting there wondering, maybe he's not going to be what we thought he was.
260 with his mid-700s OPS, and
he will finish this year with 25, 26 home runs, which...
90 RBI.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, 260, 265, and you go, that's an okay season, but it's
all about expectations, right?
And he won a Gold Glove last year.
Yep.
He is not even close to...
No.
to that on the defensive side either.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting you trade him.
No,
I'm
but it's hard to. It's all about expectations. He's not going to be, it would appear, what we thought he was going to be. Can you get the fan base to wrap their head around the fact that he's still pretty good? Still pretty good. And can you talk him into, hey, you're probably not a $350 million contract player?
Like they talked about him being in the same vein as Tatis Jr. and Acuna and like he was, this is...
You see Acuna's got...
30-60?
30-60, and he did it before August was done. 30 home runs, 60 RBIs. Never been done before, and he's done it with a month left in the season. Fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Vladdy's going to be that guy.
Well, he's not going to be a 30-60 guy.
Certainly not stealing 60 bases.
He could be a 33 guy. And watching him slide, especially the head first slide, you're like, man, oh man. If he was doing that same dive into a pool, you're coming out with a huge pink belly, right? Like his face
he's coming down hard,
and his face is doing the Gruber thing, right? Like smash, scrape on his chin. You're like, man, the less of that we see, the better.
Yeah.
Anyways, just an idea that, and again, at that age, you know that guy could be so much, has the potential still on the table, right? If he. It looks like he may need to re-engage with his trainer. Mm-hmm. He may need to stop listening to Uncle whoever, Vladimir Guerrero or not Vladimir, Wilton. Sorry, he is Vladimir.
Yes.
Wilton Guerrero. You got hitting coaches. They were talking about yesterday about the idea that maybe there's too many people.
Yeah, Joe Siddle brought up maybe there's too many people nattering at him. Could be.
And so just lose a couple LBs there, buddy. Get in there. Stop worrying about what color Gatorade you're going to splash on somebody in the post game. Hustle out a couple ground balls. Fucking get after it.
Stop pimping singles.
Stop hitting double plays, man. Like you are, as a guy in the three spot in your lineup.
Yeah,
you cannot be the rally killer nonstop. Like I get it, man. Everyone's going to do it once or but.
Well, you look at Kirk, you're like, okay, I get it. If this doesn't land in left center, it's a double play, but that can't be Vladdy. Right, that can't be.
Yeah, and this brings it around to, and I'm not sure if you've touched on the whole Schneider thing and the call and the not running. Like, if I am sitting in my fucking living room saying, "Why are you not pinch running for that guy? Why are you not pinch running for that guy?" And then somebody else has to be saying it too. Like, there's got to be better.
John Schneider. Yeah.
So who did I say?
Nothing. You just said Schneider. I'm just making.
Okay.
We have two right now. Davis Schneider's been very good. John Schneider has been not so good.
Yeah, it's true. One, but I'm not sure. One has any choice on who's pinch running or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just to me, there's enough brain farts on that guy's part. Like I get how you have so many people running the decisions, when to pull a guy, when to do all these things, that there's somebody else running those numbers. It's not all on Schneider and Walker and maybe Mattingly. But the decisions like that, somebody has to be making that pinch run call. The brain farts like him walking out to see Manoah for the second time in an inning and you're like, oh, fuck, I forgot. And now you got to
pull him.
You got to pull him. Like these sorts of brain cramps. Like,
well, even Saturday, right? Like John Schneider has two modes. I'm going to make a decision way too early or way too late. Probably never at the exact right time. And you look, Kikuchi has largely been pretty good this year. As you said, not as great lately, but they've sort of settled on, if you can give us 5, we're pulling you.
Yeah,
right?
Unless you're lights out, we'll take you on an inning by inning basis after that.
So Saturday, he clearly doesn't have it. He's walking the 6, 7, 8 from Colorado, who are terrible.
Yeah.
And you just, at some point, everyone else has figured out, he just doesn't have it today. And that happens to almost every pitcher. And that's the day you decide to let Kikuchi go 100 pitches, and it just blows up in your fucking face. I'm not one of these guys yet who's on the fire John Schneider train, which is when fans are frustrated, that's one of the things that pops up on social media.
Bring back Montoya.
Yeah, let's not do that either. Bring back Cito Gaston. Is he still kicking around from the
Givens.
Batista
We're going to go with Givens. That's come on, Givey. Bring back Givey.
It just, it's just hard because it's been so frustrating. So you're almost every night looking for a target, right? I don't necessarily think John Schneider has to wear all of this, but as you've suggested, there's been a number of nights where you're just like, I I don't know what the hell you're doing, man.
When you look at Kikuchi in that night, like there was a couple of errors behind him.
Yep.
So
2 errors for 4 unearned runs.
Yeah, and you could just see in his face.
But he did walk the 6, 7, 8 guys all in a row.
He walked the 6-7. They brought Garcia in, and he walked.
He walked 8. That's right.
And then gave up the triple.
Yeah. Fuck.
So.
Oh my God. Your life and death in Colorado.
Yeah. Well, and that's the home of the ground ball double.
Yes.
The fuck? It was like 2 of those over the weekend. And I'm like, the ball is on the ground. How is it getting out into?
Yeah.
Anyways, but Kikuchi, you could see he was becoming more unraveled with every error, with every fucking bumbling in behind him, right?
Yep.
That he was just like, and his face is normally, he's got that sort of very stoic kind of thing going. Yeah, I was going to Japanese thing, but you could see him going, the fuck?
He's about to go and headbutt.
Hey, Ernie Clement.
Exactly.
Like
yeah, you're right. It would have been Ernie Clement.
Yeah, spear him. That would be classic. Full out.
Hauling off the mount.
Right in the sternum. Yeah. But yeah, you're like, fuck, man. And you could just see him mentally becoming, and he would walk a couple guys after each one of these errors. And you'd be like,
at some point, if you have Ernie Clement, and I'm sorry, Davis Schneider and Spencer Horowitz all in your lineup at the same time.
Don't forget about my boy Mason McCoy.
Right.
Whatever.
Shit's bad, man. It's so bad.
You look at the bottom end of that
coming down the
lineup.
Stretch and
you're do or die.
Having Biggio batting second.
Yeah. Hey, 217.
Yeah.
8 homers. Super respectable. Now the guy will take a walk.
Yeah.
But
I wish he would right out of the fucking stadium.
With his suitcase right to the Greyhound station.
Back to Buffalo.
But yeah, Cavan, he's a decent guy, and I don't blame him for all this either.
No.
But that is what you're looking at, right? He and Espinal, and it's fine if you can sort of counterbalance those 2 things at second while you have
3 Bisons in the. Give me that Bison bump, baby.
Yeah, but they're the ones doing it. Like on Sunday, you look at that 9th inning, right in the middle of that is Horowitz and Clemens, right? That's you're right there with those guys. And
I get it.
And if we don't have those guys, you're not getting it from the guys we need it to be. So,
well, there's only like 2 of them in the lineup. Everybody else is hurt or.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So to me, just I think we've got this covered, but just in a September 5th kind of frame of mind, who are you bringing back next year? Not in the pitchers.
Jordan Mantle.
Just because I got the jersey already.
Exactly.
We just talked about that.
Yeah.
No, in terms of your positional players.
Most of these guys will be back just because contractually.
You bringing Merrifield back?
No, he's going to be too expensive for what he is.
Okay. You bringing Chapman back?
I wouldn't. I think there's a chance his number will have come down enough that they might, for 1 year, give him the Simeon treatment.
You bringing Kiermaier back?
Yeah, sure. He's playing hard, man. Like, he's one of those guys. I don't know how long you want to depend. See, here's the thing. If Kiermaier wanted to come back on another 1-year deal, let's do it. But I'm sure he feels like he's earned enough this year, and he's probably right, that someone will give him 3-4 years.
See, I've been listening to, since you dropped that nugget on me about I could now get 590, the fan on the
smart speaker.
On the smart speaker.
Yeah.
And so I've been listening to a lot of Shoeli and Ben Shulman doing the pre-games. Fuck, they're good. Like, that to me is an insightful listen. And
Shulman family, man. They know what's up.
For sure, man. But the idea of putting Davis Schneider, maybe giving him some winter ball looks just as a left fielder.
Yeah.
Right? Moving him out there and then just sort of...
Well, they're going to be looking at Barger to... Like, in terms of whether they're going to rebuild the left side of it. Like, who can they bring up? I'm not convinced they're bringing Chapman back. I won't be shocked if they do.
Right. I agree. But in terms of all these guys, right, in terms of you let Kiermaier go, you move Varsho to center, and you look at somebody...
Elvis Martinez ready to come up.
Yeah. Hey, I subscribed to my first Substack.
Ooh. Stoughton?
No, Fox.
Okay.
DM Fox, Doug Fox. He's a Blue Jays prospects.
Nice
guy. So I'm enjoying it. But Stoughton, I should now that he
knows what a Substack is.
Yeah. Well, no, and I've heard it all the time on my Substack, and I'm like, what the fuck is a Substack? But anyways, Yeah, I'll be interested. And I think we've touched on the guys that we've talked about, really, Merrifield, Chapman, and Kiermaier as the three guys who you are instantly sort of connected or not connected to.
But also perhaps the three most responsible guys for the reasons I don't like this team very much, right? Just sort of your...
See, I don't get that from Merrifield. At times he's been right behind Bo in terms
I believe
of...
him, Springer, Chapman, maybe Kiermaier are the personality change on this team. The group we loved last year to the group this year that's kind of like, just fucking do something, you losers, right?
Yeah. Well, and Kiermaier, though, he's a ball player. I like the bullhorns, 2 outs, he's giving him a little shake over his head. I like all,
Yeah, fair enough.
He's a hustler. He's a great defensive player. In a 9-hole, it's not bad. I would take him back.
Okay.
Anyway.
And again, on a short enough term contract, I would too. But
Okay.
I think someone's going to pay that guy for a longer term that I'm comfortable with. So
Me too.
we'll see what that looks like. As we've suggested, we've probably touched enough on this, right? But over the course of the long weekend, we did see a team representing this country that actually did something kind of fun. Maybe one that hasn't normally done that. If there's anything that you can say about the Canadian men's basketball team, who had a huge weekend, it's that historically they have not had huge weekends. They have found ways to be as disliked, as disappointing as this particular Blue Jays team. But after a fairly uninspiring game against Brazil that was unbelievably low scoring and put their backs against the wall going up against number 1 Spain, they managed to rebound and come back, beat Spain, qualify for the Olympic Games, qualify for the quarterfinals. That'll be against
Slovenia.
Yeah, on Luka Doncic. That's not going to be any fun.
I thought that guy was Serbian. But
Well,
no,
they're all Serbian.
No, but turns out, because I asked the smart speaker, I'm like, where's Luka Doncic born? And they're like, Ljubljana. And I'm like, all right.
Hey, I've been there.
I have been there.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful little neck of the world.
So this is one of those games where I got to be honest with you, I was surprised even with myself about how invested I got in it. As you know, I'm not someone who's sitting down to watch the Raptors versus Sacramento on a Tuesday night. I'm just not that invested in the NBA. I did jump in when they took that long run to the NBA Finals as a serious bandwagon guy. But I do find myself most summers, when it's time to take a run at a qualifying spot for the Olympics, I'll give the national team a chance. And they just have always found a way to
Disappoint.
exactly, man, just shatter any dreams of
Well, and usually that shattering happens before the tournament starts because you have
2/3 of your best guys. just be
guys
like,
saying, not coming,
I'm
not coming,
busy.
not coming.
So there was a small group of them who got together about a year ago and said, we are all committing together through 2024. And Jamal Murray was the only big name, and he is the biggest name, who couldn't make it this year. And that was coming off an injury, coming out of the NBA final. He did show up to camp. He gave it a shot, and he just wasn't able to go. But when they got this team over to Jakarta, which was fascinating, I think this is a 3-headed tournament. I believe it's also in Manila and Japan.
In Japan.
Yeah.
Osaka or something, I think they were in.
Yeah. But I got all in on this team, man. There was 3 games in the first round. 2 of them were at 9:30 a.m. That was easy enough. Take the iPad out to the patio or whatever and watch. The other one was at like 5:45. Someone let me know how that goes, right? I'll check it out when I wake up. I'm not that all in on it. And then, they show up against Brazil, who's okay. Like, they're a pretty good team, but they're one of those Americas teams that you're trying to be out. You got to be one of the top 2 teams from the Americas. And you lose that one in this horribly frustrating game where they don't let you get out and run. It's ridiculously low scoring. It's less possessions because each one is taking so long. And everything Brazil did was perfect to just shut down Canada. And you get to this game against Spain, the world number 1, and you're just like, I can see how this is about to play out again, right? I've seen this a million times before. And at half, Canada's down by 10. You're like, fuck, well, here we go.
Was there still a Gasol on Spain?
No Gasols. Like, their biggest names are mostly gone, but they're still just a team, right? They know how to do this at this level.
Well, they have a big domestic league, too.
Right, and they have some NBA guys, but no NBA superstars at this point. But they just do this all the time. They've played together forever. They know how to play that international style, which is a little different than the NBA style. And at halftime, they're up by 10, and I'm just like, well, at least this isn't going to be anywhere near as painful as some of the previous ones. We're going to get pounded. And they come all the way back midway through the third quarter, and they tie it up, only to piss it all away again and end the third quarter down by 12.
I've seen this show before.
And again, you're just like, well, fuck you, right? Like, very much like we're talking about with the Jays. How do we make this hurt, right? Like, how do we keep people? Hey, they come all the way back, but fuck them. Throughout that fourth quarter, you're talking about Dylan Brooks, who is just an asshole, and I love that guy. Like, he's running by the bench of any opponent going, you're too tired. You can never play with me. Fuck you. You're too tired. SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, right? Nickeil Alexander-Walker puts up. You heard in that opening when I threw the highlights in, Dan Schulman's voice getting more and more excited as they're digging out again from now 12 points down in the fourth quarter, and they get close with Nickeil Alexander-Walker's three. Dylan Brooks hits another three, and Dan Schulman, yes, right? Like they're digging out. They tie it up. It's Shea. All that they keep putting the ball in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's hands so that when they get fouled, it's going to be him, right? And they have to, because it's that close. Spain has to keep fouling you, and it keeps sending him to the wall. And down the stretch, he hits 6 free throws in a row, doesn't miss a single one. So he's punishing them for those fouls. And this Spanish team, which again, isn't the Spanish team we're used to, but still a very good.
They're the 1 seed.
Yeah, and that's it, man. And you've dug out of 10 down, then you dug out of 12 down and got this done, got Team Canada to the Olympics for the first time since 2000. I'll be curious to see down the quarterfinals, the semis, and the finals. We'll see what happens, but I wonder if they're able to play a little freer without that monkey still on your back, right? Yeah. You've accomplished the one goal that you came here to get that Olympic spot. It was funny when I woke up on Sunday morning, you're looking like, by the way, Brazil lost, Puerto Rico lost, Dominican Republic lost. Like, oh shit, so this isn't a thing where we're going to actually have to go deep. Just win today, and you're in. The other America's teams have all gone down, right? And so I was surprised how invested I was. It was pretty cool to see how pumped up all of them were to qualify for the Olympics. It's ridiculous that as a country who has the second most guys in the NBA behind only the Americans, that we haven't been to an Olympic Games in 2000.
Not since Steve Nash and Bill Winnington.
RJ Barrett's dad was on that team.
Yeah.
RJ Barrett was fantastic in the
16
the first
points,
half
I think,
for Canada. Yeah, before almost everybody got into foul trouble there late in the game. That was a little... it was awesome to see, man. And I guess the point would be, I don't know if you watched any of the game or not.
0.
Okay.
Although
see, I'm not a basketball guy, but this was... I was pumped for this. I followed this all the way through. By the end, like you're fist pumping right on a Sunday morning on the couch watching.
But see, now Friday I was at work. Yeah. It's a 9:30 start or whenever that was for the Brazil game. And so I did pull up the FIBA website.
Yeah.
So it had the live scrolling score.
Right.
So every once in a while I'd pull up the score and I'd check to see where we were at with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were, to me, whenever I was looking in the fourth quarter, they were never.
No.
They were trailing by 5 all the time, it felt like.
They were never in it in that game. Brazil developed the perfect game plan.
And the clock is just scrolling and the score is not changing. And you're like, man. And it ended up, 65, 62, 66, 62, somewhere around there, right?
And this game against Spain was 88-85. Like, you're talking about a 20 just Brazil just going, nope, like, we're not going to run with you. We're not going to play. We're just going to slow this right down.
Going to play one less quarter.
Right, basically.
So I totally get it. And I am, and it was interesting on local radio. They had a guy on who does, I don't know, it's like, he does a podcast about the Raptors. I think he's from Ottawa, actually. He's down there. And so they were getting...
Alex Adams, I bet his name was.
Alex Adams, yes, that's exactly right. And he was saying it was interesting that in Jakarta, that they've sort of billed the Canadian team as their team, as Jakarta's team.
It certainly sounded like that, the way the crowd was reacting.
And so it's weird, and I'm not sure why that is, but that Canada was selected into that pool, and the billboards everywhere were saying Canada is Jakarta's team, is Indonesia's team.
Yeah, probably if you couldn't get Team USA in the pool that was coming, here's the most NBA stars or guys.
Okay,
maybe, right?
It just seemed like an odd.
Oh, you're right. It was a totally odd,
we're gonna wrap our Indonesian arms around
Canada.
Around Canada. It's like, okay, we'll take it.
Sure. And so I thought it was an incredibly fun game to watch. And there was so many times, like you're down 10 at half, you're down 12 at the end of the third. It would have been so easy to look back at all those other times and gone, here we go. And as spectators, we did, right? I could tell watching on Twitter. But as a team, here we go again, right? Like, it's just not our day. We're not going to get this done. We don't play the right style against these Europeans, whatever it might be. And instead, no, they dug out twice against the world number one and got it done, man. I'm pumped to see that, because you'd like to think the grunt work is over. Trying to convince NBA guys to go to Indonesia and get this done is done.
In their summer.
Right. Now it's the Olympics, right? Jamal Murray
will be healthy.
He'll be healthy, good to go. SGA, like Lou Dort was fantastic. Dylan Brooks was awesome. Like, you're going to have your guys, and on talent alone, it is only the Americans.
It should be a medal team.
Yeah. It is only the Americans that are clear-cut better than you. This should be a podium team, man. And I'm, as I said, surprised at how intrigued I am by it.
Fire it up. Matt's getting the jersey.
It was, we'll see. Dylan Brooks, man. Everybody hates that guy. That's the jersey with Matt's name on it.
And it's funny because, he's a guy who you sort of hear a bunch of things about, and he sort of simmers under the surface, right?
Yep.
In terms of a name. And
Saga City, stand up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mississauga proud.
I get it. Who says that ever?
Yeah. Just him.
Airport. That's what it is. And everybody hates Pearson too, right? So there's really no
redeeming
Saga
quality.
Proud. It doesn't happen, man. It's not a thing.
Yeah. RJ Barrett, fantastic. SGA, unbelievable. Awesome game, man.
Well, and I do love to. I'll
get on board, man.
I'll wrap anything with the Maple Leaf.
Yeah.
I'll wrap that around my
next summer. Jump on the bandwagon. You'll be watching the Olympics anyway. Why not?
I love the Olympics, man. So and all of it.
100%. I'm suddenly watching cycling and whatever else, diving. Like,
for sure.
Oh, you blew it.
Yeah. Is Alexander Zepati? Is he still? No, he's not. He's commentating, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, women's diving especially. I love women's diving. They're way better. That's all. Especially the tandem. It's the best. It's the best. I don't know where you're going with that or what you think I'm suggesting.
I'm suggesting we go get a beer.
Do it.
Tipped, and Canada has it again. Alexander Walker. Yes! A huge bucket to get it down to 4. Gilgeous Alexander keeps the dribble alive. Lays it in and 1. Brooks for the tie. Yes! 80-80 with a minute 10 to go.
Great discipline and maturity by Dylan Brooks.
Gilgeous Alexander. Canada leads. Last chance for Spain. Abrinas. And Canada wins. Canada fights back and takes down Spain in an incredible game.
Speaking of the Olympics, got a little beer here, grab something new. Yeah, I'm going first this time, though. This is, sticking with Vimy, this is their red, which is behind only the stout, their second best beer. It's fantastic. And, we're talking about a little Canadian Olympic action. We're talking a little bit Blue Jay red ass. We'll
pink belly, whatever.
Sure. We'll stick with the Vimy red here. What'd you go with, man?
I got nothing to say 'cause it's the same beer.
Okay.
I've just cracked the same long slice. Yeah. If you don't like it, you can take a big.
All right. Anyway, yeah. We're not going to take a big anything.
Yeah.
It's got a little.
No, we're not, actually. It's
little caramel action. It's a nice red, man.
Okay. Well, I know you're bullish. You're bullish on all that Vimy does.
I really am, man. Nice stuff. Let's stay on the Olympics for a second, because this week the IOC will vote.
IOC's bullshit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yep.
They'll vote on a couple of sports, whether or not they will be not inducted, but included in the Los Angeles Summer Games in 2028.
Pole dancing.
Pole dancing is one of them. No. Break dancing, though,
God.
is one of them.
1984 called Bring Your Piece of Cardboard and Get After It.
This is not one that I have as big of an issue as I used to because I think it's bigger than I think it is.
Ballroom dancing?
Ballroom dancing made, it was Beijing. It got in there at some point.
Yeah.
So we'll hit a few, like squash is one of them. Baseball, softball is one of them. Karate is one. Kickboxing is one. Motorsports is one. And I guess before we go anywhere else, I'm sort of sick of the idea that the sports rotate based on location, right?
Yeah.
I get it that sometimes things change and a certain sport doesn't have the participation number, so it gets dropped, or another sport gets big enough that it gets included. Like, to me, both karate and kickboxing, while sports I know nothing about, those have been long-time Olympic sports that got punted by somebody here not too long ago,
Yep.
and now they're talking about bringing them back. I have no beef with either one of those.
Baseball and softball.
Baseball and softball I was going to get to because they're classic American sports. Now, Japan plays,
They
Taiwan
love it.
plays, Korea plays. Like, it's not crazy to think you would have baseball there, but it gets removed every now and then it comes back around to a place that likes it, and so we put it back in. But I watched a little Canadian baseball at the Olympics.
Stubby clap.
But man, Peter Orr, all these guys. It's sort of like, but who cares? Because it's
Haley Wickenheiser.
there's nobody who matters, right? It's not the best of the best again, right? It's some AA guys representing Team USA and whoever we get to.
The independent league guys.
Right. It's sort of a bummer to me. We're trying to do the World Baseball Classic. I get that. It has its own, issues. I don't care whether baseball's in or out. I do want to ask you, though, motorsports. Where are you at with motorsports in the Olympics?
So it's an incredibly demanding sport, physically.
Takes talent.
Are we
training.
putting F1 in or NASCAR?
See, I don't know it just says motorsports here on
Yeah,
the
no,
list.
they're talking. I think it's motocross. It's.
I don't really care if there's a motor involved.
So my equivalent is
Horse.
Yep. Where do you stand on the equestrian sports?
See, they really, though, only do like the artistic ones,
The
right?
dressage versus the show jumping.
Yeah. I'm not watching a ton of it, but I
My sister-in-law she owns a horse. She's a big. We're during Tokyo. She would get up at 4 a.m. to watch the show jumping.
the horse jumping or whatever. Yeah,
I've jumped a couple horses.
for some reason, I have less objection to that than I do to a car.
Yeah,
But I'm not. Your point is well made that it's still not the guy running and jumping. It's not the jockey out there dancing and jumping and. I'd watch that.
Calgary Stampede.
Running
I'm
and
going
jumping
from
the
side to
fence.
side.
Yeah.
The horse is still
Sure. See, I'd watch that.
barrel riding and all this other. Yeah,
I agree. I agree. It's physically demanding.
Yeah.
There's a talent involved.
for sure.
Unless the horse gets a medal, does the car get a medal?
Well, this is the whole man versus machine. Larry Walker, Jacques Villeneuve, who won the Canadian Athlete of the Year award, right?
Yeah.
Where Larry Walker lost it to Jacques Villeneuve, and Larry's like, yeah, I lost it to a car.
Yep. Well, he's not necessarily wrong.
So, but I get the impression with motorsports that it's more like motocross.
Yeah, I don't.
Now, I didn't read the article,
Yeah, okay. See,
but
I don't want to watch it.
you don't know either.
I don't.
And you read the article.
It wasn't an article. It was a tweet.
Fucking tweet.
280 characters
And
to
is it,
tell me
is
what
it still a tweet?
It's an X.
Yeah.
It's a post.
I heard it on the X.
It's a Zeet.
It's a ZZ Top tune.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Terrible. I don't know. I don't really need baseball back in because we've decided that we're going to decide our world champion there somewhere else. So do it or don't do it.
The
but
World Series.
I
That's
assume
what
they think it'll draw a crowd in LA. Maybe it will. I have no idea.
So will bum fights.
Yeah, I'd watch that. Who has the best fighting bums around the world? I would watch that.
That would draw a crowd too. Is that what we're doing here, man? Like, I want to see a spectacle.
You know what else could draw a crowd? A golfer with an arm growing out of his ass.
Squash.
Squash is man.
Putting squash in the Olympics.
So my parents decided,
Pickleball. How long till pickleball's in the Olympics?
Like next time around.
Paris. They'll squeeze it in last
for
second.
sure. My parents decided that I wanted to join hockey, and they're like, "Oh, but we got you squash lessons." Dude, I'm like, fuck that. Oh, and we got you a matching burgundy tracksuit.
Of course you did.
I'm like, are you kidding me? So I took the burgundy track pants and I cut the ass out of them and I wore bright yellow shorts underneath them.
You proud of me now, Mom?
Exactly. How's this look? Problem child, right from the right. Squash is hard, man.
I'm not saying it's not hard. I'm just putting it in the Olympics. They're not all going to get in.
Why not?
Yeah.
You have
fine. Why not?
Well,
Sure.
you have.
If that's our attitude, everybody in. Whatever.
Well, there's already 10,000 people in the Olympics.
Yeah.
You already have tennis. You have ping pong, or table tennis.
Yeah.
You have badminton.
Yep. You've probably hit. We don't need any more racket.
Jahilai is coming up next. Can we do some of that?
Sure.
Where's the box lacrosse at? Come on,
Oh,
man.
lacrosse is on the list too. Not box though.
Field. Yeah, okay, man. Full field is.
Sure. Put it in.
That's right in my wheelhouse,
Yeah,
baby.
everybody.
Two-time provincial
in.
champion. Two-time.
Yeah.
Two-time.
Cannonball contest.
Oh, man. The key is the low back. You got to get lots of ass and low back.
It's got to hurt if you're going to get the best splash.
Yeah, unless you
right?
can
You're gonna lay
pull
down
off
some
that
slap.
crazy corkscrew thing with the one leg up and the one leg down. Also good. That gives you the best shoot straight up.
Yeah, but that leaves you open for a lot of pain. Like, things slapping you don't want slap.
Hot as balls, Matt started the show with, I think.
Yeah. You know what? Give me karate. Give me kickboxing.
Yeah. Well,
Sure, lacrosse too. Everybody else.
now you're
take a
talking,
seat.
Matt. Well, and really, you have Canada and you have the United States. You have the Iroquois Confederacy,
They're not playing lacrosse anywhere else in the world.
Australia, England.
Oh, cricket's on the list too.
Ah, see, there you go.
See, cricket, this is interesting to me because no one in America gives the tiniest shit about cricket, but everywhere else on earth plays cricket.
in the former Commonwealth.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty big swath of the world.
It is. But outside of sort of the Caribbean,
Cricket has
India,
more business in
Pakistan-
the Olympics than baseball does.
I disagree.
Okay.
Although as soon as you put
Gets
India,
minor league
as soon as you
baseball.
put India involved in it,
Yeah, it's like 1 billion
and,
people
and
right there.
1.2 billion people kind of tips the scales
a sixth of the
in
world's
Matt's favor
population.
right there. Yes. So sorry, I take it all back. Forget it. Cricket.
Okay.
Let's do it. Embrace it.
Sure.
Got cricket? I'm all about the cricket.
I remember watching this mini doc briefly on cricket. They found a way to shorten cricket down to being only 3 days long. I was like, what the fuck are we talking
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, a good game takes like a week to play.
Well,
I'm out.
see, and I remember, and I've told this story, being at Upper Canada College in a field lacrosse tournament.
Yeah.
And it's like we're playing in this field where there's mud, and this is a prestigious private school. And
That
it's
for some reason let Rob onto his property.
Yeah.
Twice.
Well, it's us, a dirty fucking district high school with all these private schools.
Yeah.
But we were good.
Yeah.
And we're getting bloodied and muddied. And then, like, in the next field over, there's a cricket match going on with their white pants, their white shirt, and their little, like, cardigans tied around their neck. And then they're breaking at some point. And I'm like, who the fuck has time for whatever is happening there? But
Somebody does.
the Australians, when I was down there, they love it.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't know, get that baseball thing you guys watch, but I love a good day at the test ground.
Well, that was the part that made me check out immediately. Now, I have heard that India has started, and I think they call it the Professional Cricket League, and they've shortened it down again to North American style, 3.5 hours long, and play. But the first exposure I had to it was like, this is the shortened version, and it takes 3 days. And you're like, well,
Yeah, well, they do have
out.
the international test matches,
Yep.
which do go over, and it's like 860 wickets over
Right.
790, and you're like, none of that means shit to me.
So,
But it seems to be quite a spectacle, and those watching it seem to really love it.
yeah, it's true. So
And I'm
throw it in the Olympics.
I'm throwing all my support behind
This is why you can't put it in the Olympics.
The Windies.
The games are only 2 weeks long, and
Well, there'll be one of those sports where you're like, we're going to, those events that start 2 days
9
before
weeks
opening,
ahead of time.
before opening ceremonies.
Yeah.
You're like, well, we're going to be here
Have to
3
be,
weeks
man.
before, and then we'll finish sometime after closing ceremonies.
we'll move on here and talk a little about.
We've exhausted the cricket.
I think our expertise on the cricket has been stretched about as far as it's going to go here. So we'll talk a little about another sport we know a ton about, soccer.
That's really any sport we talk about here, Matt, is I'm an expert.
Hurry back, hockey.
I'm an expert. Yes, exactly.
John Herdman has decided over the last week or two to walk away from the Canadian men's national team and, of all things, sign with TFC. That's an indication of how bad he was ready to
Buy
leave.
low.
Yeah, he was ready to leave the Canadian team because TFC is basically a joke right now.
Dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Hot trash.
Okay. So, Josh Cloak has done a pile of really good reporting on this in The Athletic, and just this sort of rising tension between John Herdman, and if we circle all the way back to his beginnings in Canada, he took over the Canadian women's team in 2011, helped them get 2 Olympic bronze medals, and then he had sort of made it clear, apparently, based on Josh Cloak's reporting, I've got some other offers here. I'm not really sure how interested I am in continuing on in this role, but if you were to give me the men's team, I'd be interested in taking on that. And we sort of poked fun at that at one point, that he was
Leaving a contender to go to TFC.
like 80th. No, not yeah.
No,
basically now,
that's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's buy low.
yeah. And he was. It was hard to consider leaving the Canadian women's team and going to the Canadian men's team and considering that a promotion. One was ranked top 10. One was like at the time 85th in the world, or maybe even lower. So he does move over though, and suddenly they start to have a little success. He starts to build a program there. And at the same time, some talent falls into his lap, right? Guys develop at the right time and are prepared to play for Canada. So it's not all him. But he does start to run a program that makes this run, gets through, the CONCACAF qualifiers and makes the World Cup, where they are one of only 2 teams who lose all 3 of their games. That wasn't a great look.
Did score a goal, though.
Did score a goal. And as they come back home, he starts to make noise about, we are not ready to be a host nation. In 2026, the World Cup is split between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. The overwhelming majority will be in the U.S., but they're going to give us a couple games.
Yeah,
give the Mexicans a
split
couple
seems
games.
like a generous term.
It really does. And he's sort of starting to spend a lot of money. We need to get out and we're going to fly in early to these places on private planes as we start to do these. Like, he's essentially running the program, and eventually the bill comes due, and Soccer Canada has no money. And this is the story that the women have been telling for a little while now, that hey, they've got no money and we're not getting any support. And once the bill comes due and they sort of tell John Herdman, we're not going to spend all that much more, he starts to look around, put feelers out, see who else might be interested. TFC fires their coach just a couple days before that. There is apparently a bit of a rift in the locker room about guys who support Herdman and guys who don't. Whether he's the right guy to sort of move them forward. It just became this big thing, but it piles on top of the Soccer Canada story, right? And how unprepared they are at this point, both financially, organizationally. They don't have a CBA with either their men or their women at this point. And now you have, arguably, maybe the most powerful person in Canadian soccer right now saying, piss off, I'm out, and leaving again for lowly TFC.
See, I think 2 things can be true here, right? It's such a shitstorm at CSA that you're willing to walk away from a host bid in 2 years,
26,
3 years? You're willing to walk away.
Copa America coming up. AJ's been talking about how big
You're
of a deal
willing to
that is.
walk away from that because they are so unprepared, underfunded, yada, yada, disorganized, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
These things are all happening. And so everybody is well aware, sort of really since the warm-up to the Men's World Cup is when sort of the bright light was shone into the corners and like...
Suddenly people care about Canadian soccer.
Well, and
now we're all looking.
This whole Canadian soccer business,
Yes.
whatever this thing is, that where they handed over the...
So this is an important detail. There's another company called Canadian Soccer Business that entered into an agreement with the men's team, at least, through the CSA, the Canadian Soccer Association. We'll give you, and I don't remember the exact number right now.
Yep.
It might be $10 million. It is the number in my head. We'll give you $10 million, and we will take upon ourselves, we'll go sell your TV rights. We'll go sell your jerseys. We'll make money off the program, and we'll give you $10 million right now. And then all of a sudden the team gets good.
Yeah.
And now it's worth way more than that. We don't want to be on One Soccer's YouTube channel when we're trying to qualify for the World Cup. We want Sportsnet and TSN bidding for our rights, but it doesn't even matter because it's Canadian Soccer Business that will make all of that profit.
You've got what you're going to get.
Yes, they paid you $10 million, you're out. And now that's not enough. You got to convince good teams to come here. You got to go to other good teams and play them. And that's affecting both the women and the men. But you sold all of those rights away for a dime, and now it's worth something.
It's like it was a fine deal for the CSA as long as they were not qualifying and they were going to
As long as nobody cared.
Tegucigalpa or San Salvador
Right.
once or twice a year, and you're like, that's what you're doing.
Yep.
But it's like being good has now outstripped that deal and exposed all the warts to it. So in the John Herdman issue, to me, what you have here is, I think, and you've sort of touched on it a bit, right? That he's sort of made the power moves a couple of times here, right? Moved from New Zealand women's soccer to the Canadian women's soccer. It's a move up. He's then made the power move across to the men. And as you said, he's had an Alphonso Davies and a Jonathan Davies, et cetera, fall into his lap as young, early 20s guys coming into their prime. And I think those who know more about soccer would suggest that maybe he was exposed a bit in the World Cup in terms of his tactics, in terms of his gamesmanship, in terms of how he could, as you suggest, move this team forward.
Well, and Alphonso Davies, again, this comes from Joshua Cloak's reporting in The Athletic. Apparently Alphonso Davies not happy with being played in multiple positions. I'm this guy. I play here. That's what I do. And
I'm one of the best in the world.
Exactly. If there's anyone you cannot pick a fight with, it's Alphonso Davies. He plays where he wants to play. And that's just reality. That sucks if you're trying to run a sport and you're supposed to tell the players what to... This is one of the most gifted players in the world. He happens to play for you. If he says, I play, left attack, that's where he's going, and you don't get to keep moving him around. That's just the way. And at some point, he flexed a little too hard, and people started pushing back.
Yeah, and this is the other thing you hear the rumblings of, that maybe John Herdman, not the best at now managing these large egos.
Yeah,
and when you talk about guys who are playing in the Champions League, guys with huge name recognition and ego.
Yeah.
That goes with it, that not only as he tactically maybe ran at a road, but in terms of now handling these bigger egos and melding those in a change room, I think he has seen this as, I've done the undoable thing.
Right.
I've qualified this team for a World Cup for the first time since '86. Like, it's unbelievable. I am at this high watermark.
Yeah.
Whereas what is underneath that wave he's on top of is a lot of these questions.
Yeah.
And so he's now moving over to TFC, and I think he's looked at that as, I've now done what I can do there. I don't want to stick around for this next shit show, which maybe under CSA may be a disaster anyways.
Could be.
And I have maybe been exposed in terms of my gamesmanship and my tactics.
They talked a little in that same article I'm referring to, and we'll link to it in the show notes, that one of his great things was the motivational factor. He can get guys fired up. We're going to do this. We're going to do this thing no one thinks we can do. But when it came time, as you point out at the World Cup, to be like, okay, I've heard your motivational speech. I need a tactic. How are we going to beat Belgium? How are we going to
counteract Croatia?
Right. I need some coaching here. And motivation is part of coaching.
Sure,
but I need tactics here. And maybe that's where he started to fall short. And that motivational stuff, that took us a long way. And that talent came along at the right time. And we got all fired up. And we were winning at Ice Teca in Edmonton, right? And we were going and doing things across the region and qualifying. But man, we're here now. And I need you to tell me how to beat these guys. And he wasn't able to do that.
I think if we could play Belgium and Croatia in -20 weather.
Sure.
I think that's always going to be a little tip in our direction.
I wonder that we make a big deal out of that. I wonder how many of our guys have spent a lot of time playing in -22.
I was born in the Congo, and now I find this to be unbearable as well.
Right.
Or I was born in Brampton, and I find this to be unbearable to be in
Most
Edmonton.
Canadians find Edmonton unbearable for any number of reasons.
And so I just wonder now if this is just his pulling the chute.
Yep.
And as I said,
I'm out.
As I said, both things could be true, right? The CSA debacle.
Yes.
But also, I don't know, man, if I am cut from the right cloth for what's coming in 2026.
We talk about this all the time, even around DJ Smith. There's a guy you have that helps bring you up, but when it's time to take the next, and I'm not trying to shit on DJ, but just
totally
because
right.
he's the
There's
local
guys
reference.
hired to be fired.
Right. You are going to help develop our guys. You're going to help us through the rough patch. And when it's time to take the next step, we're probably going to somebody else.
Well, and you look at who are the teams, like everybody needs a good motivational coach, but who are the guys where you need the Herb Brooks type guys where I'm going to motivate you. I got less talent, right? Traditionally, the guys who need to be talked up to motivate to get more out of what you actually have.
Yes.
And if you're bringing talent,
yeah, we have real players now.
you need to then, who are used to playing, as I said, a guy like Davies playing for Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Jonathan Davies, who's constantly being talked about to be moving up.
Yeah.
He's already went from the Belgian league to the French league and beyond.
Yeah.
Maybe Manchester, something. I can't remember who the EPL team was that was looking at him.
Right.
These are people who now have
Expectation.
and who have been coached by some of the best coaches in the world, that they are expecting you to be better tactically. You can't just a lesser talented group that you're gonna motivate to run through a brick wall for you.
Right.
You now need some more cerebral coaching, and I think maybe this is John Herdman sees a bit of the writing on both sides of the wall.
Before I get exposed, I'm going to get a new contract somewhere else.
Yeah, and I'm going to point at those guys and say, "Fuckheads."
Yeah, look, they blew it there. And as you said, that can be true too.
For sure
CSA is
can. Yep.
blowing it. It's a mess. I'm out before I can use that as my shield.
Yep.
And I'm on to the next thing. I got a contract somewhere else. And TFC has some superstars. They are, despite being just brutal, one of the highest paying teams still in MLS.
Yeah.
Like, they keep going out and bringing in guys. We'll see what he can do there. But I think he's run for higher ground here a little bit.
Well, and I think this is, you're going to see him become exposed.
Yeah.
Because as you suggest, they have in the past paid good money for talent. Like when they were making their runs to playing either in or winning championship games in MLS, they had big talent. And so you are talking about, you are now trying to go back to that same thing where you're going to need this talent to be tactically prepared. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. So instead of him going where I have to motivate these guys who I see 5 or 6 times a year, to now I see these guys every day. And that shtick wears thin.
Yeah. So we've been a little hard maybe on Herdman.
Nope. Spot on, Matt.
I'm just curious, what is his legacy with, soccer in this country? Because as I pointed out, when he showed up with the women's team, the women were already pretty good.
Yep.
But he took them to a couple medals at the Olympics. And then he flexed a bit and said, yeah, there's other people interested in me. I'm going to leave, or you'll give me the men's job. And he took the men's job, but for a while he did pretty well with it. Helped get them back on the map.
Of course. Yep.
So now he's sort of, as you and I think agree, he's pulling the chute here a little bit. Does that hurt his legacy? Is he How do we remember John Herdman?
It hurts his legacy right now.
Yeah.
Right now, it hurts his legacy. But that guy long term will be a beloved figure in Canadian soccer, right? Handsome dude in the white dress shirt, right?
Yeah.
Women love the guy.
Yeah.
And great accent. You can't have a soccer guy without having a British or
Got to have a
a
European accent.
UK accent of some kind, right?
Yeah.
No, we want to avoid the Spanish guy. Okay. I'm not sure, man. That says I know soccer, but it just doesn't.
Jordy Fernandez just helped the Canadian men's
Yep.
basketball team.
I
beat
was
the
just going to
Spaniards
say, I
there.
couldn't think of the guy's name, but I'm like, it's a Spanish guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has already etched his name. And I think if and when he flames out with TFC and goes back to coaching a 4th division team in England, then, that'll be fine. But he will always have this decade of excellence.
Yeah.
And so I think, to me,
Yeah, you can't take away what he's done.
nope.
Yeah.
And you always have that. And so I think he's wisely / slyly sort of making this move. But again, as we said, two things can be true. And I think he can always say, yeah, I was leaving for that reason, when I think there's sort of two things happening there.
Agreed. Anything else for this one, man?
Nope.
I think that's it.
A lot of stuff here today. A lot of opinions.
100%, man. And we're back at it. Regular now. Rob's been sort of, I don't know.
So it's summertime. The last couple of summers it's been, but hockey is coming.
Hockey coming quick. The stretch run here, whatever's going to happen with the Blue Jays is about to happen in the next 3 weeks.
Rob may blow a gasket, may have a stroke. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. It's going to be, it's an interesting couple weeks ahead. I should mention, I suppose, you are away next.
Regular, but not next week.
Sort of approaching regular.
We are approaching regular. More bran in the diet, less cheese.
I've sent out a couple of messages to some of our regulars to see who might want to sit in for you. It's the first Sunday of the NFL season. People are kind of giving me the maybe like
yeah. No,
tough Sunday to find.
Yeah, sorry. My dad's 80th, right?
I think that's an excusable reason to not be here.
Got to do things.
I believe. Lee Versage.
Oh,
We'll sit in the seat next week.
A man also not short on opinions.
No, it's true. His Dallas Cowboys don't play until Sunday night. So I think we can get him in here on Sunday afternoon to do the Monday show, and that is the plan at this point.
He will have takes aplenty.
There will be takes.
Yes, there will.
CM Punk's been fired, man, by AEW.
Nobody cares about that.
Okay.
Although you and Versage
may do the entire hour and a half. On that.
Exactly. There you go. Be forewarned, good listeners. Wrestling maybe in your future.
Could be. We got lots of great stuff to come here in the next few weeks. It is an exciting time of year in the sports world, so we'll be around for all of that. Plus, pints. Always pints.
Pints!
Always pints. For Rob Christie, my name is Matt Robinson. Thank you so much for listening. Give us a follow on social media at TalkCanAudio, and we'll see you all next time.
See ya!